Hello, beautiful artists. Today I have a really special tutorial that's very meaningful for me. And it's just a tribute to all of you who I've met over the past year and a half here and share your stories. And we enjoy this time together in these tutorials. And just, I mean, truly makes my day every day I hear these stories. So this little painting I'm going to do today is of a flower. I recently, and I did get permission to share this story with you. A man reached out to me, and he was the mother-in-law of a beautiful artist named Lee. And she was age 88, which I just love hearing these stories. And she loved my channel. And he shared this very heartwarming story about how she discovered how to access YouTube. She gravitated towards my channel, which, I mean, I have chills because I just love those stories. And I love making this art so doable and fun and enjoyable, yet you still learn things. And so he said, I got a giggle out of this. He said she gravitated to my channel and pestered him. And he basically became her personal online shopper and helper with these things. She downloaded my free ebook and just loved learning to paint a lot of these flowers, and even was waiting on the brush set. Thank you, Lee. When, as he put it, the Lord came calling for her on September 9th. And I just, these stories I get so often and just make me so happy. And I mean, how honored am I to be a part of this? So I wanted to share that. And he even said that he'd watched so many hours sitting with her and just was so grateful. And I truly am the one that is so grateful to have met so many of you. So today we are painting. He sent me a picture and I did some Googling. I thought this was really interesting because I have these black-eyed Susans growing in my garden. And as you know, I love them. Even in my first ever only online class for beginners, we paint a version of these. And I just think they are such a cool flower with this. They're also referred to as a cone flower, black-eyed Susan. And what he referred to them as, which I thought was really cool, and I hope I'm saying this right, was a Rudbeckia. I Googled it because I wanted to get some information on it. And he sent me a picture of it, and was kind of confusing. Some Google information said they were a completely different flower. Some said they were very similar, just called different names. So we're going to paint this to you, sweet artist Lee, and just for me to kind of honor her. And like I said, I get so many of these stories and they mean so much to me. And it's truly in those days where I might feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, you know, am I really doing what I should be doing? And you know, am I really making a difference out there? And I get these stories and they truly just, every single one means so much. So Lee, this is for you. And thank you to her son-in-law for sharing such a beautiful story. He also sent me pictures of her and some of her art, and just so special. So let's get started with this. I am painting on, I have a picture here he sent me of those flowers. I'm painting on my mead and watercolor. This is 140 pound. This is not cold pressed. This is rough, just because that's what I happen to have sitting here. And I think because I'm using a larger format, I'm going to go ahead and either use, where is my big old bad boy, which I'm loving those of you that are enjoying my brushes and the big old bad boy. So that's the 16 round, and I think I'll use that for a lot of it. I'm going to keep my cat's tongue handy here, just in case, and of course my 8 round. Just in case I want to get a little bit smaller areas. So we're going to start with this brown kind of coneflower. And you know what, if any of you know a little bit about this Rudbeckia, I'd love to hear it, because I got a little bit of conflicting information when I Googled it. I Googled it because it looks so much like my Black-Eyed Susans. I was like, I wonder if they're related. So let's go with that. All right, what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start in the middle with this beautiful brown color. I'm using my laying palette and just going to create some brown in here for the middle. It's a pretty dark brown, but we can always go darker. So I want to start out with kind of a lighter value. So this is about 50-50. And then I'm going to use those beautiful orangey yellows, which is perfect because in this my laying palette, by the way, I'm washing and rinsing my brush. Let me grab some more paper towel here, because I dab my brush off constantly. So I'm gonna just set that right there. You guys all asked me about this little palette too, which is really nice. I can hold it in my hand. It's somewhat small. This is a Mead palette. I'll try to remember to put a link below. All right. And then the colors I think I want to go with are the orange yellow. This is actually cad yellow I'm picking up right now. So I'm going to make sure I have some of that in here, activated, whether you spray it or you just do like me and kind of add in some water with your brush. When I use these big brushes, I can grab a lot of water. And then I also want to have that orange, and it almost looks like a sienna in the middle of the flower. Look at this. It's almost like a burgundy-ish sienna, which some of that looks like it came off of the brown. So let's put that in here because I think that's a really pretty color. Just get that ready. When you're working wet and wet, you want to make sure you have your paints ready to go so they don't dry before you get to them. And then that orange, we've got that orange, which I'll just spray that, give that a little spray. We've got some yellow here, maybe some yellow ochre. Put that in there. It's kind of a warm yellow I like. Goes really well with that sienna. All right, so I've got all my colors ready. Oh, you know what? The only color I don't have in here is my olive green for some of the darker shadows of the leaves, and then some of the sap green. There we go. And those kind of mixed together. That tends to be my go-to green. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go into, since I'm right-handed, I'm going to work left to right. Of course, if you're left-handed, you might want to work right to left so you don't drag your hand across your painting. And let's just go in with our dark brown and tap into the center here. So I'm just going to make these little dots. It almost reminds me, this is how I approach a sunflower as well. So I've got some white space in there. I'm going to go ahead and clean and rinse my brush. Really important. And then I'll go in and pick up some of that yellow. Now, cad yellow is really vibrant, you guys, so just kind of be careful there. And I want a lighter value. I might even mix some in here so I can get that lighter value. If you need a scrap paper to test, go ahead and do that. But I want it to be pretty watery. And I'm going to go into this flower and touch into that brown because I want to get this spread there. So let me move my water and let's just tap in. Look at that. That is exactly what I wanted. And then maybe go to this one. There we go. Love it. This one here. Loving that spread. And I'm leaving some white space in there, notice. There we go. And I drew this right from the actual picture he sent me. There we go. And what I loved about it is, you know, this flower was not perfect, but look at how pretty, you guys. I almost feel like I could add some red in there because the flower felt like it had a little bit of a reddish quality. So let me see if I can find, I want like a deep red. Let's see what that is. That's pretty. Let's just tap in some of that. Ooh, look at that. Lee, this is for you, girlfriend. I hope you're up there doing lots of painting. So there you go. I love that. That is exactly the look I wanted. Now when it dries, because I'm noticing, and in the picture too, there was little tiny, I don't know if you can pick that up, but little tiny speckles of yellow. Let's go to our next one here. Isn't this fun? Look at that blend, you guys. Isn't that fabulous? So I'm picking up some of that brown again, and I can just go in and tap in there too while this is wet. And let's just go in. I'm gonna add those little dots all around. But I'm making sure that I am leaving some white space as well, because I don't want it fully to be filled in, because that's not quite as interesting. And then I'm gonna just add in a little bit more dark. Ooh, I am loving that. Okay, now let's go in with our yellow. So I wash and rinse my brush really good, and then pick up some of that yellow. And again, you can test it out on either a paper or in your palette to make sure it's not too dark, because we'll go in and add some darkness in there. And then just taking the tip of my brush, and before I went onto my paper, I do tap off. I tap off some of that extra paint. And look at how well this brush works with this. So I'm just tapping into that brown, and then I apply pressure, and look at it, is the perfect little shape. Notice too, create that interest, leave some white space. So tap into that brown, pull it out, and flatten your brush. Pressure on the brush, and it will make that wide stroke. Look at that, you guys. I mean, how fun is that? Just pressure. Ooh, and that got some different colors in there. This is what I love. I feel like I'm here painting with Lee. Okay, now I am going to add in some of that red. I think this is the red we went with, which I'll look on my swatch sheet and tell you what that red is. I'll also put it in the description. And tap in that red. Ooh, look. No wonder these were her funnest flowers. Look how pretty that is. And then let's do another one right here. So I'm gonna go in and tap in with that brown. Let's do one. I don't really like fours. I don't like working in fours, but I feel like I wanna make one kind of standing up. And there was one actually in his picture that was kind of to the side. So let's do that one. Wash, rinse my brush. Pick up that yellow paint again. And let's do some coming out. This brush is great for this because I almost can do these in one stroke. Yep, that's exactly what it looked like. Oh, this is so fun. Oops, I got a little drop there, no worries. Just soak it up. And look at these beautiful blends. Oh my goodness. Go in with a tiny bit of that red, like that. And just pick that little spill up. Let's do our last one here, and then I think I might add one more somewhere just to make it, I like uneven numbers. So let's go into this. And again, just adding in these little dots. Isn't that fun? What a fun way to get this color. How about if we add in some of that red right now, before? See what that does. Versus after. Again, making sure I leave some of that white in the middle. Wash and rinse my brush. Pick up that yellow. This is a perfect brush for this. Tap in. Ooh, look at that. Now that, if that's too much for you, and see the pressure, I'm opening up the belly of my brush. You can just go in and pick it up. Wipe my brush off so I get that red off of it and pick up some of my yellow. That is really pretty. I'm just putting pressure on my brush. Opening up that belly. Oh, I think Lee would have been so happy with this. Seriously, how lucky am I to have met so many of you and hear your stories, and just fantastic. Now, this truly was how the flower was. It had one short petal, and I love that because, like, I'm all about the organic and perfectly imperfect. That's why I'm leaving this. But look at that, how beautiful. So fun. Now, we've got 4 here. Again, I don't like working in even numbers, so I'm going to add maybe, let's see, where should we add one more? We could add one small one in the background here. So I'm going to use a little lighter shade because I want it to look like it's in the background. And I'll make it a tiny bit smaller. There we go. Wash, rinse my brush. Tap it off a bit and pick up some of that beautiful yellow, that sunny yellow. I remember my grandma's kitchen was always yellow. She loved yellow. And I'm going to make this a very pale value. So probably, 80% water, 20% pigment, because I want it to look a little bit more in the background. So I'm also going to tuck the leaves behind these. So I'll just end right there. Like that. Keep going. Yeah, this is so fun. Maybe just a tiny bit of that red. Grabbing it off my palette here. There we go. All right. And now we'll go in and add some of those leaves. Let me take a look at her picture here so I can see what those leaves look like. It's so interesting because so many of these, they're showing the black-eyed Susan. When I looked up Rudbeckia, let's see here. I want to try and get as close to the leaves as I can. They look like a pretty standard leaf. It's so interesting when you Google because they come up with all different things. So I'm going by her picture here, although I think he may have Googled this as well. And they look like the ones in his picture are quite long. I'll try and get this in somewhere, that picture. So point, press, and they're long like that. There we go. Maybe some in here in the background. And I see a lot of stems coming out. And then let's do some of these long. I'd love to hear if any of you have this particular plant, because it looks like there's some various versions of it. Ooh, and I like that. So I had a little bit of a brighter green on my brush or in my palette, and it picked that up. So we've got this zigzaggy type pattern going on. I'm gonna do a few lighter value leaves in the back. Just dabbing on with my brush. There we go. Oh, so fun. I love when you guys send me pictures of flowers in your gardens, because so many of you, you know, I'm in California and we definitely cannot grow some things because it's so warm here. So it's really fun to see what you guys are growing. Creating some movement with the leaves. And then I think what I might do, if this is dry, is go in and just darken that center. Before I do that, I just want to use a shot of this here. This is my little handy dandy dryer. You can use a blow dryer too, but I ended up buying this because it seemed to be a little bit more precise. They're maybe $20, but if you have a blow dryer, I used a blow dryer for years. So let's just give this a little heat. There we go. Almost done. There we go. And I just keep this under my desk on some Velcro my lovely husband made for me. And then I'm going to grab, because the inside of the picture of the flower, so this is a Van Dyke brown, by the way, is quite dark, almost black. That could just be the picture, I don't know. Mine are definitely a dark brown. And let's just go in, if this is dry, which I think it is, and I'm gonna add some of that dark brown and watch it pop. This is a little wet, so I'm gonna turn my page here. I've got some water there. And I'm using, by the way, I just grabbed my 8 round because I want some, see that was wet still, some smaller dots. So I'm gonna go in, look at that. Now watch, this is the value of using, no pun intended, different values in your paintings. So watch what a difference it makes, because look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And then here we've got some dark values, but I'm gonna add in some different ones. So this painting I'm using for this dark value, this is my darkest value. It's gonna be probably 80% pigment, 20% water. And look how much better it looks with that darker value. Now this one I'm gonna do a little bit lighter because I want it to be kind of in the background. Let's just keep going here. Oh, that's a little bit wet. And what that does too, when I go in with these darker colors, it kind of gives it some depth and some interest, and is a way for me to add detail without getting too detail-y. Now that's wet, so I gotta be careful, but I'm going to dot in some here. Oh, I love this. What a great, I'm so happy today. Look at that. Now I'm gonna water it down just a bit for this one, because that one I wanted to look like it was in the background. Now that's even a little darker than I wanted. I can always, there we go, that's what I wanted. So I didn't want that to be quite so dark. The last thing I might do here, using my 8 round, is wash and rinse my brush and pick up some of that orangey color that's in the roses, this orangey red, and kind of that color. And I'm gonna go in and just do just a few details. Let me get this color for you, by the way. I feel like I want to mix some brown with that. So it's not quite so bright red. Let's see what that color is. No, that's too red. I think that's like an alizarin crimson or cad light red. Okay, so I'm gonna use some of that and just go in. I don't want it to be too stark. Matter of fact, let's see what happens if we add in a little. Ooh, yeah, there we go. So I added yellow ochre, some of that red, and some of the brown. Now that's getting a little dark, so let's lighten that up a bit. Maybe just a little bit more of this yellow. There we go. So that's about 50% water, 50% pigment. And let's just go in and do a few little lines, just coming right out of the center. Now I'm sticking my hand in there, so watch that, just for this area. Oh, goodness. Let me turn this so I don't stick my hand in that wet. And just flicks with my brush. So I'm using the tip of my brush and I'm holding my brush more upright. And I don't want to do too much because I like having, you know, I don't like too much, don't want too much detail. Trying not to stick my hand in anything wet. There we go. Just adding that in. Ah, so fun. I'm so glad I was sent this. Can't tell you how much I love getting your pictures and seeing what you're doing. Love these color blends. I'm all about, by the way, blending my colors on my paper. That is my favorite way versus blending in a palette. Nothing wrong with that. It's just personal, but my favorite way to get colors is on my paper. Meaning I will put the two colors down on my paper and let them mix. Oop, that one got a little thick. That's okay. Look at that. I'm going to go very light with that one. So let me just add a tiny bit more water. And let's add in some lines. Not too much because that one I don't want to be really a focal point so much. So I might even go over that with a damp brush. Oops, see, I didn't rinse my brush. I just washed it and lighten that up. There we go. We want that one to really fade into the background. There we go. Yeah, I think I like that. I think she would be very proud. I hope so. We could go in and just add a couple darker values here, but I don't even want to get too nitpicky here. And there we go. I think I'm going to leave it at that. So I hope you enjoyed that. And you give it a try. This big brush is fantastic. Excuse me. If you're working on the Artisto pads, this one might be a little big for you. But this is, let's see, what size is this? This is, oh, this is 9 by 12. So this one's quite large. You know, it was perfect. I feel like I almost, oh goodness, you guys, should we do a little bit of gold metallic for her? He said she loved the metallic. So let's do a little bit of that for her. I'm gonna go in, pick up, I should have sprayed this first. Let's give it a little spritz. I just ordered some more of these, so hopefully they'll be here pretty soon. using the side of my brush, trying to avoid going in with the tip of my brush. And let's just do a few little highlights here. Ooh, look at that. I just can't resist. There we go. And you don't have to do this if you're not into that. But for the most part, I love these. This is the MABs. You can find the link to these in most of my tutorials because I use them quite often, especially as we're going into holidays. And that was kind of interesting. So I went in with a little bit of a dry brush, which gave it a little bit of texture. Look at that. I'll hold this up for you to see too. In a second here. So I do kind of like the dry brush. I don't usually do that, but it really brought some interest here. I'll hold it up here. Ooh, so fun. Okay. If you happen to fill in too much of the center of your flower, what you can do is just take some white titanium and go on in there. You can always do that. Let me hold this up for you and you can kind of check it out. Look at those golds. I hope Lee is happy with this. And there you go. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that and thank you. It truly means so much to me to have you all here. And again, to hear your stories is just phenomenal to me and I love it. And I'm just so grateful to be here with you all. And I hope to continue to bring you lots of fun things and enjoyable things and to also teach you some things. All right, everybody, I will see you soon. Happy painting.